Good morning. I am General Secretary Patience of the new African Black Panther Party based out of Newark, New Jersey. This is NABPP News. As Panthers, we base our philosophy around the 10-point program. Number 4 states, we want decent housing fit for the shelter of human beings. This is why we are heavily involved in helping residents stay in their homes. Today's episode covers the City of Newark's council meeting, which was held yesterday, January 9th. A few topics that will be covered. You guessed it, slumlords, the courts system and its impact on residents seeking relief, ordinances, legislations that are passed to combat these issues. In this video, I'm going to play is of Mr. David. He is a resident at 130 Chancellor Ave. After I play this video, I will have a few comments.
Yes, my name is David. A while ago, a couple months ago, I came here with some residents of my building, 130 Chancellor Avenue. You all know about what they were doing, illegally converting apartments, blah, blah, blah. After I came and spoke and my neighbors spoke, woke up the next day and like half of Newark was at our door. You were there, fire chief was there, Newark engineers were there, people I've never seen before. And you said when I was here, we didn't know what was going on. Tell us and we'll handle it. I spoke to y'all and y'all came like that. I couldn't believe it. You opened up doors and saw the construction that these stinking management were doing. You saw them illegally converting apartments. You put a stop to it. The elevator in my building hasn't worked in months. When y'all came, this is about 2 months ago. You came, you brought the fire department chiefs, checked out the elevator. The owners are supposed to fix it. It hasn't moved since then. Still got senior citizens, children walking from the lobby to the 5th floor, whatever. And the management of the stink, these management people haven't done jack. They're still collecting rent. They're ripping off residents of the building for COVID money. And one of my residents, the one that we had to start a tennis association, she found out about it. They're stealing money from the residents of the building. They own the building across the street, doing the same thing, illegally converting apartments to rip off black people. Your constituents. So I don't want to yell and holler, I just want to know, what are you going to do about it? I haven't seen a word from y'all about anything. Management I haven't gotten a rent receipt in a year and a half. I don't know where this money's going. They're sending out increases of 40, 50% when I just found out, according to y'all, they're not even registered to own the building, to manage it. So how can a bunch of people come to your city, take over building, don't even have the paperwork to own it, and just collect rent, having black people continue to create generational wealth for them under your noses? I just want to know, what have you done I don't even know the management's name anymore. You already know people of my building have been calling, no heat, and they don't even answer the phone. They don't care. All they want is our money, rent. So what are you going to do? What about the elevator? Can you do anything? I'm bringing it to your attention. All of you know 130 Chancellor Avenue. I know you. So just do something. Let the management of these people, because all we are is money for them. You know, put some bite behind it, because they're laughing at you. They don't give a darn what you think or say. Just keep anteing up black people. Black City Council.
So I want to comment on a few things that Mr. David said. He said last month when he came to complain about the slumlord and housing conditions, the city immediately brought the cavalry. And this seems to be a template of the city. And I know because I experienced it when I was at the Spires. When they hear enough complaints about a property owner, they usually come out, they bring out code enforcement, the fire department, the mayor comes out. Sometimes there's a camera or a reporter on standby. Next thing you know, there's an article about the slumlord and how they're treating the residents. Or you hear it on the campaign trail about how this particular candidate dealt with the slumlord. This happens over and over again. Eventually, a deal is made and a new owner becomes, an owner of the property. and eventually that new owner becomes the new slumlord, and then we start the process all over again. But again, that's just theater and lip service. Nothing never really gets done. The residents, tenants, they still have to suffer through until, I don't know, it make it through the court system or something. It rarely ever, nothing rarely ever gets done. Another thing he mentioned is that they don't even know the name of the management. That's something that I find common. It's hard to get in contact with management. The property is not even registered. And I know that they just passed an ordinance where it requires all property of rental units to be registered by the city so we can know their names, to have their contact information. We shouldn't have be searching to find out who our landlord is, especially if we're paying rent to these people. Residents should not be paying rent while living in these conditions. There's no way they should be paying rent for broken elevators. There's no way they should be paying rent for illegal conversions. There's no way they should be paying rent for 40 to 50% rent increases. There's no way they should be paying rent if they can't even contact the landlord. They don't have access to the landlord. They can't go to the management's office. There's no one to report anything to. Why are they paying rent? I mean, somebody should come up with some kind of ordinance or legislation to hold these slumlords accountable. Residents should not have to pay rent to live like this. So next we're going to play Pat Council, because of course he always has something to say. To me, he just runs his mouth, but nothing constructive or productive comes out. Nothing that will benefit the residents. It's always to find some way to save face or to put the administration or council in a better light. But we're not here for that. We're here for the residents. Like, enough is enough already. But here go Pat Council.
Council?
Yeah, Madam Chair, thank you. David, again, as I said before, at the last council meeting when the folks came up, that most of these matters are in court. And so on that back end, there were some things that may be happening that you may not see that is being handled on the legal side. The other situation about the elevator, as I talked about here very intently, is that the elevator is not operable at this moment because there was fines that was given from our UCC department, that there was some malfunctions in the elevator that the company and the management has to work on and fix. And we've been working very intently to try to get a hold of them to ensure that these elevators become operable as it relates to all of the other things that has been happening, illegal conversions, things of that nature. That information is in court, and we are repeatedly on top of the individuals at 130 to be able to get this stuff done. And when we came to the building, we came to ensure that we did a visible inspection to check to see that all of the things that you talked about, all of the concerns that the residents had, was true and existed. And then from that measure, and we have to move on and do the things that is needed in the courts, right? And that's where we're handling these people, and that's where we're fighting them at in the courts. But rudimentary things that they know that they're supposed to take care of, that they're trying to run and hide from, we're on top of them, as well as our UCC department and our code enforcement officers as it relates to that elevator, which has to be serviced. It needs another 5-year inspection. It had oil leaking. So I can tell you all of the variables of which was wrong with the elevator. And do I want to rush to have somebody fix an elevator and do an ill repair that someone may be in harm? I definitely do not, right? So I want to make sure that we're prudent in our approach to handling these folks. And we've also going to reach out to the state, as we sent some residents that was here at the last meeting down to our rent control office to be able to handle and work with them and deal with them, and to check out the subsidies that are attached with that building, so that we can reach out to the state as there is in regards to that. So those are the things that we're working on. No one has left 130 blindly.
So we heard from council, and like I said, he said a bunch of nothing. I don't understand. If the city acknowledges that this landlord is not in compliance, that everything the residents say is true, why are the residents paying rent? Like I said, they should not have to pay rent for a slumlord in poor housing conditions. You see that the council acknowledges that, but they talk about going through the court system. Why can't they come up with legislation or ordinance that says if we, the city, finds that one, you're not registered as you're supposed to, two, you're doing illegal conversions, three, you're illegally raising rents by 40, 50%. All these things that is already, I believe, in the slumlord ordinance and rent control ordinance. But again, nothing is enforced when it comes to these slumlords. And like Mr. David said, they're laughing at you. They do not take the council seriously at all. Also, have you heard the council discussing the elevator? He says that they're trying to get a hold of management to make sure they do everything they need to do in regards to the elevator. Mr. Davis also said, and residents from last month also said they have a hard time getting in touch with management. So it's because this property owner is not registered with the city, there's no contact information. So I'm curious to know what information that was used that the city took them to court on. So that's another thing. Like, there's no way that the city and residents should be having a hard time contacting management of these properties. But again, they don't take the people of Newark seriously. They don't take the council seriously. And there's no enforcement to these ordinances. So why should they avail themselves to anybody? Council also said that he sent the residents to the rent control. They're looking into, subsidies that this property may have, I guess, to take their subsidies away or not. But again, all of this does not help residents right now. They still have to walk up flights of steps. They still have to deal with illegal construction. They still have to deal with the landlord raising their rents 40 to 50%. They still have to deal with not having access to the landlord or to the management company to report problems. Like, what are you doing to help the residents now? That's what is needed. What are you doing to service the residents now? Do they have to be like Georgia King Village and Aspires to go through years and years and years of this before something is actually done? If anything is ever done? Now we're gonna hear from LaMonica. She's another one. She's gonna do a little spiel about how the court system is not benefiting the residents because of how long the process is. But yeah, this is the same woman that supported ordinances that benefit these slumlords and developers. So let's listen to LaMonica.
Ms. Bodine is absolutely correct. She is a resident of the Colonnades. It is a case that has been in our court for about a year, and if you want to count before we made changes to the ordinance, probably 3 to 4 years. The corporate council is well aware of it. It's sad that it takes so long to get justice for our residents here in the city of Newark when it has to go through the courts. The timing is just, I mean, you could just literally pass away waiting for justice from the courts here in the city of Newark. I do disagree with one thing, Ms. Bodine. Even if we struck out what you said to take out of the ordinance, it wouldn't matter because the ownership of your building, let me say the poor ownership in a slum landlord of your building would not adhere to the rules anyway, and would not do anything they're supposed to do because they never do, and they would still just go to court and will be waiting because That is the bureaucracy we live in here in America and in this city, where a judge has to rule on things that are not proper or not correct between landlords and cities. So that is what we have to go through. But it is unfortunate, and I say that publicly, the same thing I say to you on the phone, through email, the same thing I've seen to you 5 to 6 years ago. It makes no sense that it takes this long to get justice for them to do the right thing, which the ordinance plainly asks for them to have one security guard. So I'm going to keep saying that.
I got tired of listening to her. Yeah, like she said, things are still in court. That's why, as Panthers, we don't believe in these institutions because one, they just give you the runaround, and none of them is here to serve you. They all work in cahoots with each other. As she said, even though, so the property she's talking about is the Colonnade. Their issue is that they're not providing security guards for the building. And in the ordinance, it says that they must have a security guard. But again, these slumlords don't have to listen to council. They don't have to listen to the ordinances because there's no enforcement behind it. They have to take the administration, the council have to take them to court to make these slumlords do things. So what's the point of these ordinances? The ordinance require them to have a security guard. Colonnades refuse. So they've been in court for the past 3-4 years fighting the colonnades to provide a security guard. In the meantime, the residents are the one who have to live in an unsafe environment. So again, you have an ordinance that says these slumlords have to have a security guard, yet you still have to go to court with them to make it make sense to me, people. But yet we're supposed to believe in these institutions. We're supposed to find relief in these institutions. And she says it herself. Like, it's a shame that that residents have to wait years and years to go through the court process. But yet you support ordinances in which mandates residents to go through the court process. So I'm going to play this other video from Corporate Counsel Kenyatta speaking to the rent control ordinance and how that process works. And you're going to understand why I keep breaking up this court process. Because LaMonica says basically it's the courts to blame that is stopping these residents from finding relief. Yet, she and others, the administration, will come to the same residents for votes talking about, oh, we passed the rent control ordinance. Oh, we passed the zoning board ordinance. All this stuff. We built Hope Village 1 and 2. We got the home, all these things to help with the housing crisis, to help with the homeless crisis. But when you look into the details, it's not helping. It's not helping at all. All these things are just money laundering, money funneling projects to push us out at the end of the day because they're not for us. They create ordinances without any enforcement. These slumlords are going to do what they want to do, and they will take you to court. They will drag you to court and drag it out because they understand that the courts are with them, the council is with them, the state is with them. Everybody's with them. And who is with us? Who is with the people? Black Panthers. I'm telling y'all, we are here to help, but you have to get educated. But let me not go off spiel. This next video is Corporate Counsel Kenyatta. He's talking about the rent control ordinance.
Kenyatta Stewart, City of Newark Corporation Council. So essentially, what we're doing is making an amendment to the ordinance. It's important for us to know first, before I even go into the details, landlords are allowed to increase their rent. So before we go into this process, this does not, stop landlords from increasing their rent. What we're doing here is taking out a few things. First, we're taking out any properties that are exempt from rent control. We're also taking out the 5% limitation that was here before, and now unconscionable rent will be determined by the courts. And essentially the process will go as follows. Once a person files a complaint with the courts, the court will consider many of the factors that, a landlord or the tenant will bring forward, including, taxes and the price of certain things, cost of living and things of that nature. Eventually, if the court decides that the rent is considered unconscionable, the increase is considered unconscionable, at that point, the city does two things. fines the landlord $2,000, and also stops the person from raising their rent for 2 years. The ordinance also defines displacement by fact or force. By fact is essentially because of the rent increase. By force is if the landlord has a history of raising rents unconscionable, and also if the landlord has, or I don't want to say and, or if the landlord has a history of having anything as far as a failure to meet the standards when it comes to mold and infestation, heat, and things of that nature. Safety as well. Finally, the city will add a portal, which will be, of course, digital, so that folks can, register their rents and things of that nature. And that's all we have as far as this ordinance.
So, as Kenyatta said, the original ordinance stated that landlords could not increase rent by 5%, or could only increase rent by 5% over the next several years. But of course, the slumlords and developers, complained, threatened the administration council with court, and they quickly changed it to call it unconscionable rent, which then requires residents to take the landlord to court and for the court to decide whether the rent increase is unconscionable. So again, LaMonica did this whole monologue about how the court system is failing residents because how long the process takes, but yet supports an ordinance which mandates the tenants to seek justice from the court. So, make it make sense. Again, none of these things they do is to benefit the residents. None of it. Because of this, as Panthers, we don't believe in these institutions. We don't believe we can find justice or relief. We believe in organizing the community, serving the community, pulling our resources together to provide for the community. But in order to do all of that, you have to get politically educated. Because if you're not politically educated, you're just going to end up like a capitalist trying to make money off the poor people instead of helping poor people. So please tune in to the Bobby Hutton Political Education course. It will be every Sunday starting this Sunday, January 14th at 7 p.m. The Zoom link will be posted on Sunday. Until next time, this is NABPP News. All power to the people.